Hello, this is Kate here from the Association of Quality Checkers. Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar today. Today we're here to listen to Sally Warren from Paradigm. She's presenting the REACH standards in support for living. Sally Butcher is also collaborating with Sally as a self-advocate. Unfortunately, Sally couldn't be with us today, but she's recorded a chat with Sally, especially for this morning. Sally Warren is the Managing Director of Paradigm. Sally has a passion for ensuring people with learning disabilities are supported to live ordinary lives. And since joining Paradigm, Sally has worked with colleagues across the country and abroad to look at what is getting in the way of people being able to achieve this. Prior to working for Paradigm, Sally's worked in the Social Services Directorate of the South London Authority, creating and driving a local strategy to improve the lives of people with learning difficulties. So now AQC presents Sally Warren talking about the REACH standards in support for living.
So hello, so I am Sally and I am passionate about people with learning disabilities being supported to live good ordinary lives. And we know the best way to do that, as Jordan, you know, up in Values into Action Scotland, we've been talking together, the best way is to make sure we work genuinely alongside people with lived experience. So people with learning disabilities and or autism who have experience of paid support in their lives. So this picture here, you can see me in the middle, smiling away. And on my, I don't know what side you're looking, on my left, looking at the screen, is Sammy Butcher, who we'll see in a film today. And on the right is Laura Broughton. Sammy, Laura and I, we work together in pairs. So I either work with Laura or Sammy. And we travel the country trying to bring to life REACH resource, the resource pack, REACH Support for Living. I know some of you are quality checkers, and maybe some of you do use REACH. So we're really keen to connect with you in any way that makes sense for you, to bring REACH to life and keep thinking about how we can do things better. I'm really sorry Sammy couldn't be with us today, but she did literally on Friday. She came and sat here and we recorded a conversation that we'll share as part of this later. Because it's really important, I think, it's from Sammy's view and Laura's view about whether the support they receive to live their life is positive and helps them live a good life, or whether it's bad support that gets in the way. Some of you may have seen this screen, but this picture. But some years ago now, Paradigm, we got quite frustrated actually, and we got quite angry about the fact many people, many adults with learning disabilities weren't living brilliant lives. It was being called supported living, but you know, people weren't really choosing who they live with or where they live. So we spent some time thinking about what is it that helps, that makes a good ordinary life. And people we spoke to, we worked with people in Scotland, Wales, England, in 6 different groups, thinking about what is a good ordinary life. What does it mean to any of us, to all of us? And people came up, they drew pictures, as you can imagine, and all sorts of stuff. But we took the artwork and we created this poster where we used words to describe what they said. But people said so clearly that an ordinary life is having your freedom. It's having ups and downs. It's having being in love. It's having your heart broken. It's learning from mistakes. It's having a slummock day. And that means, by the way, having a day where you decide you're going to get up, you're not working today, you've got nothing to do, and you're going to stay in your pajamas and watch rubbish on the telly, eat a bit of rubbish food, and just enjoy yourself. Many, you know, so this is what an ordinary life looked like for many people, lots of things. And people started talking about the roller coaster of an ordinary life. If you're free to live a good ordinary life, there are moments when you're extraordinarily happy. So extraordinary moments when at the top of the roller coaster here, you might be on holiday, you might have fallen in love, you might have got a new job, you might have moved into a new flat, all those things. So there are moments where you're really happy. And then there are times we sort of come down from those highs, and those highs, we bob along day-to-day life. And for most of us, day-to-day life, if we're lucky, we enjoy. If you're lucky, you do things you enjoy. You're with people you know, people you love, people you like being with. You have a job you enjoy most days, and you get on with life. There are also moments when you go down to the bottom of the roller coaster when actually you feel deeply sad. Something happens. Maybe someone you love dies. Someone's ill. You lose your job, or you can't get a job. There are moments when you feel sad. If we're lucky, we have people there who are going to help us to talk about that sadness and then come back on that roller coaster. to actually start enjoying life again. And then there are moments when we're on this loop. So we go round and round doing the same thing. With me, it's usually half a stone on with body weight, half a stone off, constant flipping diets. It's on and off, on and off. And that's, you know, what ordinary life means. So when we then said to people, okay, let's think about many of the people that we support or many of the self-advocates around, do people with learning difficulties generally, do they get to live a good ordinary life? Do people supported in social care, for want of a better phrase at the moment, do they get to enjoy this amazing roller coaster where you're high, you're low, you're happy, you're sad, you're a bit bored at times, you're on a roller coaster? Do you know what people said to us? They said, you know what? We think for many people with learning difficulties, that roller coaster becomes a lot flatter. So people don't enjoy as many high moments, as many different colours, as many different things in their life. Well, we then said, well, why is that? And they said, well, because we have systems and rules that limit people. People live with people they don't like. People have support workers they don't get on with. People live in a house with somebody they don't get on with. Or we have rules that say that's too risky, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. Oh, no, you can't fall in love. No, you shouldn't have sex. All that stuff goes on. So actually, often people's lives are restricted and they become less exciting than ours. So when we rewrote Reach, I don't know if you recognise this pack. Hopefully most of you will have seen this. It came from 2014. In 2014, I looked at the old Reach resource pack that we produced with Paradigm. I have to say before I was with Paradigm. And I thought, you know, there's something not quite right about it. It's great, but it has to be much more about a good ordinary life. It has to be much more about real conversations. It has to be about exploring what a good life really looks like. It's not just about checking whether we have policies and procedures in place. And the beauty of quality checkers that I've met is that so many of you tell us, well, actually, when we go in, we can feel whether a place has a good vibe. We can feel whether the support worker really gets the person they're supporting. We can feel whether the person supported gets a support worker. We can see these relationships. So we needed somehow to capture this in Reach. We never, ever, ever want Reach to be a list of standards that people get paperwork and then tick against. So we rethought Reach in 2014. So you may recognise the logo at the top left here. And then in 2014, we wrote and published Reach Support for Living. Now, if you notice there, support for living is a key thing for me. We believe supported living has always been about people choosing the important things. Going to go back one. It's about choosing how they live their life. And our job as professionals, us paid folk that can help or we can get in the way, is to understand, discover who that person is, help them find a place they want to live in and support them to live a good ordinary life in that place. So we change the language, but language is not just about writing something different. It is about trying to make real change happen. So we're now in the process of producing the next Reach pack that we're going to make much more accessible, easier to get online. We're making new films to go with it. We really want to bring that really important message. It's about discovering who somebody is. So when you're in there as quality checkers, that's what we're really hoping you're looking for. It's not just have they got the paperwork, but actually are we seeing real lives, really good lives. I get really, I'm going to say pissed off, really distressed when I hear lots of professionals say, yeah, we've done supported living. Supported living means living on your own. We've deregistered, so we've got it sorted. Or they say supported living is only for the most able people. Or they say supported living creates loneliness. And then they say to us, well, it's okay because we've got direct payments, we've got PCPs, PBs, we've got a good from CQC, we've got one-page profiles and we've got support plans. Drives me crazy because this is all system stuff, isn't it? Deregistering from registered care to supported living doesn't mean you have improved the quality of the support you offer. It doesn't mean you're supporting one person at a time to really understand what a good life looks like. So I think that's really important. All of these things on this screen you see, they can help. No, it's nice to have a good person-centred plan. But if you go in and you're reviewing a service and they say, look, we've got 4 person-centred plans and they're lovely, look at this. If they're in the office looking very nice and the person doesn't know where they are, or you notice actually the plan was done 6 months ago and no one's looking at it to see what's happening, we don't think that's real support for living. That's just pretense. That's pretending things are okay. So we also think that whilst the Care Quality Commission has a role, or in Scotland, sorry, Jordan, your inspectors in Scotland, if they have a role, but sometimes what we see them do is they measure what I would see as the basics, you know, medication, the paperwork's in order and stuff. And I have seen places that get a good that I wouldn't want to live in, that I am actually not sure are really focusing on one person at a time. So what I'm saying is we are not fooled when we go in to review a service, and I'm absolutely sure you as quality checkers aren't. We're not fooled by seeing paperwork and believing that's the thing. Because like you as quality checkers, what we want to do is talk to the people who are supported. That's where we get a real sense of what's going on, how is it like? And we hear people, and this slide I've actually used quite a long time, and I'm quite sad about that, because actually the messages haven't changed. They are for some people's lives getting better, but they're not always changing. So, you know, we hear people with learning difficulties tell us, no, I didn't choose who I live with. No, I didn't choose who supports me. Then I can't move, can I? Then people saying they're lonely, and I do the same thing every week. We hear this again and again and again and again. So if people with learning difficulties are saying this, and organisations are saying, yeah, we've done it, we're really good, we have to think as quality checkers or as Paradigm going in, what's going on here? Who's not listening to who? And how do we make sure people start to focus on what's really important? So I don't know if you've seen the three monkeys everywhere. My mum used to use them all the time, so they always come into my head. But the monkeys hear us. One can't see, one's not looking, one's not hearing, and one's not saying. So it's almost like they're not going to say what's going on. And the message we've got here is let's not pretend. We don't believe that attacking people or organisation is going to help people with learning difficulties get a better life. We believe that trying to understand why people in organisations behave the way they do is really, really, really important. And the first thing is to have real conversations with people who are supported, their families and staff, to go, okay, what's really going on? How are you really feeling? Let's not pretend it's all okay, because nothing's ever perfect. Let's be honest. And all we're asking with Reach across the country is to say, if at the moment you are supporting people in a house and you know they haven't chosen to live together and you know they don't really like each other, don't pretend it's okay. And that to us is really, really important, because we say again and again, there isn't one way of doing supported living. It's not a model. It's not something you can buy off the shelf and build or create. It's a way of life. And that way of life is dependent on each and every person that's supported by the organisation. Okay, so people are still there, I think. People can hear me, so that's great. And I'll go on to the next slide. I wish I could see you all, but there you go. So for us, the basics, and I always say when Sammy, Laura and I go and do training, you know, we say, if you remember nothing else from today, remember it's about discovering who somebody is, and it's about these fundamental principles. And I call them principles, but actually I would also call them human rights. I would say that the Human Rights Act, Article 19, says very clearly people should have the right who supports them and where they live and how they live. This isn't us doing it because we think we should. We're doing it because we have to. The law says people have the right, regardless of your ability or disability. You have the right to live a life like other citizens and be supported to do that. So at the basics of Reach, when you go in as quality checkers, if you use Reach, you're looking to see, have the people supported got real say in how they live their life? Are they deciding what they do in the day, what time they go to bed, when they get up, what they eat? You know, have they decided who they live with? If they live with anybody, maybe they've chosen to live on their own, but have they decided who they live with? And importantly, we want to ask them, how did you decide? So it's important to ask, how did you decide? Because so many people I've met go, well, yeah, I came to the house on Friday for tea, I met the people and moved in on Saturday. Now, I don't think that's typically how most people living an ordinary life would make such a decision. You need to get to know people. What are they like when they're happy, sad, etc.? So it's important to ask, how did you choose, you know, who you live with? Also about choosing where you live is fundamental. Who supports you? So who comes in every day? And I I know some of the most powerful things we do when we meet with support workers and staff. I say to them, imagine it's you. Imagine you're in your bedroom. Someone comes in, maybe knocks if you're lucky, but they come in and they say, I'm here to help you change, help you have a shower. And that person helps you undress, gets in the shower and helps you do personal care. Just imagine if a stranger comes in, and maybe some of you have experienced this if you are self-advocates, but someone comes in and does this on a regular basis. How are you going to feel about yourself? How are you going to feel about strangers and your private space and your body that should be for you and deciding who touches you? And when we say that to people, they go, oh my gosh, yes. So we really have to go directly to the core of what's it. It's just, let's not pretend about this. Imagine it's you and you've got strangers doing personal care every day or once a week because the agency staff are in. And then we think people should absolutely must have the right to decide how they're supported. Who and how. They are different things. You know, you can choose the people, but how you're supported. You know, do you like the music on first thing in the morning? Do you like the curtains open quickly or don't you? Do you like to have the snooze alarm on? Do you like to have your breakfast in your room or downstairs? That's how you're supported. And it's that that affects the day-to-day life that you live. Okay, you have a break from my voice for a minute because we use this film from Open Futures Learning, and we can send you the link after, because this to us, when we go into to offer training, facilitate training, we find this really powerful. So I'm going to shut up for a minute and let you listen to this rap. And over to Mariana.
Hands off, it's my home. Hands off, it's my home. It's my home. Hands off, it's my home. It's my home. I don't have a schedule tacked to my wall. I don't expect to find one anywhere at all. If the telephone is ringing, I pick up to see who calls. I don't have great big posters about slips, trips, and falls. I decide what happens when I go to bed or eat. I decide who enters in, which people I'll greet. I decide on furniture, which bed, which bath, which seat. I decide the temperature and when to turn the heat up. All the things around my house belong to me. I don't have strangers coming in, changing channels on my TV. All the mail I get is opened by the addressee. I have dominion in my castle, have my privacy. I don't use my home for meetings, trainings, or interviews. The colors in my carpets are my fave chosen hues. All records kept about me are accurate and true. And if I really wanted to, I'd own 100 pairs of shoes. I will make my choices, I'll make my own decisions. And any plan I make contains my own wishes and visions. Any person in my home is here for my permission. No office do I have here, no rules and no restrictions. I decide who to employ to a vacant situation. I decide on where I want to store my medication. I have the right to keep my mother out my accommodation. And I don't need to have a weekly fire evacuation. No risk assessment stop me from trying something new. I make my own mind up about everything I do. And when I need support, I'll let you know if it is you. Hands off, it's my home, or Sam Sly and I will sue.
Well, if you saw that, I think there's a really powerful message there. And when we play that to people and organizations, they go, whoa, what's that about? That's not possible. And I go, well, that's what Reach is aspiring to. Reach is about looking to the future where these things happen. It's not about accepting because things are tough now, we can't do it. Things are really tough. And you probably see this as when you're going in and quality checking. But things are tough. Money's going, the politics are horrible. But at the heart of all of this are people who absolutely have a right to live a good, ordinary life. So it's so important. So we don't accept that when people say times are tough, we can't. We go, okay, let's not pretend. Let's do something different. Let's remember that we have, in the last 30 years, come from the picture on your left here, where people with learning disabilities were locked away in large institutions. And we've moved into where people are living in the community, and we're moving on to people living good, ordinary lives. The really sad thing is institutions still exist. You must have seen some, when you go into some services, you go, this is no different. This is still people living in places where they don't have real choice and freedom. So institutions aren't just the size of the building. It can be in a house where one person's living and they've got a staff team that don't listen to them or value them. So it's really important, but we often show this slide just to say, let's go. Times have always been tough. You know, we've always had challenges, and now is not the time to give up. Now is the time to say we need to keep doing things differently. So, REACH standards. Okay, these are the standards. You may notice there aren't 11 anymore. So we were traveling the country towards the end of last year, and we meant to meet Jordan at Values into Action in Scotland and his colleagues. And lots of people, self-advocates and families, were saying, we think they're a bit confusing because there are 3 around support. So we've blended them. We haven't changed the aim of REACH. We haven't changed lots of the resource that's written, but we have reduced from 11 standards to 9. So the standards now are that we believe absolutely that everybody should be able to say, I choose, say, or communicate, say, I choose where I live. I choose who I live with. I have my own home. That might be a tenancy or ownership. I choose who supports me and how I'm supported. I choose my friends and relationships, and that includes sexual relationships, loving relationships. I get help to make changes in my life. I choose how to be healthy and safe. I choose how I'm part of the community, and I have the same rights and responsibilities as other citizens. So they're the 9 standards that we are now creating films. So we're making films for each of those that can be used by people to help people really think about what this means. The films are being made with people, self-advocates and supporters in different organisations. And they really, a bit like the old films, you may have seen the old REACH films that are still on our website, the old films that, you know, this is an example of not good and this is an example of good. Think about it, talk about it. What can you do differently now as a support worker or organisation to improve the life, the support that you offer somebody? So we have moved from 11 to 9. We will be producing this soon. You can see we've got a different logo now, the green logo. But this isn't to confuse people. This is to show that we're honestly listening to self-advocates, to families, to staff, to commissioners, to the Care Quality Commission. And while we're there, actually, it's probably worth mentioning the Care Quality Commission really like REACH. And we've recently, Sammy and I presented to 80 of the inspectors, and we were saying to them, come on, you've got to get real. You really got to think about what a good life looks like. And we had a whole hour to say to them, come on, and give examples of what we see as not good and why we're worried that sometimes an organisation or service as such will get good and we think it isn't. So, but we often get this. So when we show these standards to people, people often go, oh, not more work. There are standards all over the place. You've got Driving Up Quality, you've got REACH, you've got the Care Quality Commission, we've got our local authority standards and commission targets. We can't do more. And the message we give, and we'd love you to give as quality checkers, and you probably do, is, well, don't do it all again. So this is using the old pink REACH, sorry here, but we're saying actually REACH can evidence, provide information to go into your CQC inspection. So the one of them is, you know, is it safe from CQC? You are protected from abuse and avoidable harm. Well, that's good, isn't it? So, but actually REACH, you can use the evidence you gather in REACH to say, if someone chooses who they live with, if they have a home that they feel safe and well in, if they get good support, if they're supported how to be healthy and safe with their food options, their exercise, their choices and stuff, and they choose how to be part of their community, all of that will help people be safer. Loneliness leads to vulnerability. People with learning disabilities aren't vulnerable, but actually people are very lonely sometimes, and therefore we all make sometimes decisions that may not be the best for us. So what I'm trying to say here is that REACH can be used to report to CQC. You can just put it under the Chloe. And again, I apologise now that I haven't got the Scottish slide here or the Welsh slide. I do have them. I'm sorry, very English focused here. But you also need to be clear about what local commissioners are looking for. So when you review supported living settings, so when people are living in their own homes and they're having support to live, is what we prefer to say. When we go in and have a look at that, the Care Quality Commission, as you will know, they only have the right to inspect the registered care, the registered support, and that's the domiciliary care, so the personal care and support. So that's all that the Care Quality Commission can really look at. It should be your local commissioners, the people that are paying for a person's individual support, that should be helping the providers make sure they offer really good support. So the local authority commissioners should be saying, this is what we need to see as an outcome. So we want to see that somebody's life is better in these ways. So we're often surprised at how many people don't know what the local commissioners are looking for. So I think that's quite a big hole, and there's a bit of worry around the country that support, what people call supported living, they say can be dangerous. We say supported living or support for living isn't dangerous. What's dangerous is bad support. What's dangerous is when people don't choose who they live with. So it's really important that we know every individual, we know how best to support them, and that local commissioners know that you're doing that well, or you're learning and improving. And that's the way we can make sure support for living is really focused on individuals. But the Care Quality Commission, or the inspectors, the regulators in Scotland and Wales absolutely have a role to play. I love this word. And, you know, I can go on for ages about REACH and the resource and the 9 standards, and, you know, but in the end, everything comes down to, when I meet, even with families who are terrified that their son or daughter may not get the best support, that they may be harmed in a way where they live, that they may become unwell and unhealthy. Often when I'm with support workers and they go, yes, but there's no other way, is there? But there's no money. Or when I'm with commissioners, or when I'm with CQC inspectors, I just go, imagine it's you. Imagine you moved into a house with 3 other people. Imagine within a week, you realised you really didn't like one of them, and they really got you mad every time you saw them. And the other 2, you could sort of take or leave. Imagine you then realised after a couple of weeks, actually, the support staff kept changing. So it's not the individual support staff that are bad, but they kept changing. And the person you really liked only came in on certain days. So a lot of your life, you were getting support from people you didn't like. Imagine you lived there for a month. Imagine you were there for 6 months. Imagine you were there for a year. And when we say this to people, we can sort of see them start to wriggle in their chair a bit and feel a bit uncomfortable. And then we go, okay, well, how might you be feeling? And you can imagine, I wish I could hear from you. You can imagine the words. I'd be feeling lonely, I'd be frightened, I'd feel sad, I'd feel depressed, I feel angry, all those things come out. And then we go, well, how might you be behaving? And they go, well, I might be withdrawn, I might be very quiet, I might be just agreeing with everybody because I'm not heard, so therefore I agree. I might be actually smashing my room up. I might be wanting to get away, run away. As soon as we say that to a whole range of people, they suddenly go, oh my goodness. Support for living is what this is about. REACH is about support for living. It's not about a model or deregistration or putting people in a house together. It's about supporting people to live their life in a way that any other citizen would be okay to accept. When we say that to people and we just talk that through, they start to really get it. They start to go, oh my goodness, how can we do better to make this possible? And we always say 1 step at a time. So don't beat yourself up. Don't feel guilty. Just go, let's acknowledge what we're doing to people at the moment isn't what good support for living is about. And imagine it's you. What would you want in your life? And what can you do, whether you're a self-advocate, a family member, a support worker, a manager, what can you do from today to start making things better? And I believe maybe out of the 10, maybe 1 or 2 will do something different, but those 1 or 2 people will start making a difference. And I also believe that many self-advocates, including Sammy, who you hear from any minute now, will say, it's the relationships, it's the people in my life that add or reduce quality. And it's that's absolutely fundamental to bring about real change. So we have to be truly present as professionals and support workers. We have to listen to self-advocates and families. And REACH is saying that's all of this. This isn't about something professionals do to people. It's about supporting people to live a life that makes sense for them. And the starting place has to be the people supported. So if you're using REACH to review, or we're using REACH to review, we always start with the people supported. And In our current Reach resource, which is the pink one, not the green one, just to confuse you, but the green one's not out yet, the pink one, we really encourage to think about when you're chatting with somebody with a learning disability or someone who's receiving paid support, if you say to them, what do you think about where you live? Sometimes people will say, oh, I really like it. Then you have to go, okay, what is it you like about it? And then you have to keep having a real conversation to keep exploring, discovering what it is that person thinks is good. So that's the real conversation bit that Laura's coming out of Laura's mouth there. But out of Sammy in the top here, what we often find is that, sadly, many people with learning difficulties only know, well, like many of us, all of us in our life, we only know what we've experienced. We can only know what we've read about, heard about, been told about, or experienced in life. We see many people, many adults with learning disabilities who aren't told what the real options are. They're told, well, there's room available in that house down the road, you can move in. They're not told you've got a right to know how much money is yours to spend for your life from social care and health. People aren't told you have the right to say no to somebody. So actually they're sucked into a system that takes away those rights. So in Reach, in the pink version, we really encourage people to make sure when you chat with adults with learning disabilities to find out what their life's like, make sure they know that there are other people in the country that actually do live on their own, or they have chosen who they live with, or that make sure the parents know that if you're not happy with something, you can make change happen. It's not easy, you can make change happen. So we need to make sure that people know what's possible. And I often say, if you only ever know pink, if you only ever know one thing, how do you know what blue, what something else looks like? So Reach is about those real conversations, and coming out of my mouth there, that speech bubble, is about organisations being really honest with themselves about what they're doing. Really honest. Do people that you support really choose who supports them? And it's not enough to have a recruitment head office where you've got one person with a learning disability and staff are recruited at the head office and then they're sent off to people's houses. That's not okay. Because imagine it's you. Someone turns up tomorrow and there's a stranger, and you'll hear about that from Sammy. So these are some of the really fundamental messages we give in the Reach pack. It's really important. So I got distracted by the lovely picture of Sammy. I love that picture. We're now going to play. It's about a 10-minute film actually. It's 25 to, so we've got about a 10-minute film. I'll then just wrap up, and then you'll get a chance to ask any questions. But this film is, because Sammy couldn't be here today, we got together on Friday and filmed this conversation. And if you have a listen, you'll know as quality checkers, it's the things that Sammy started to spot and myself and her sister started to spot that really suggested the quality wasn't all it should be. And we'll hear from Sammy now. So
hello, Sammy.
Hiya.
So I'm Sally Warren, and you're
Sammy.
Sammy Butcher.
Yeah.
And you're an associate with Paradigm, aren't you? So you
Yeah.
work with us sometimes,
Yeah.
and you work with us particularly to help people understand what good support looks like and feels like for people to live in their own home. So people call that supported living, don't they?
Yes.
We call it support for living, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we do. So you're going to share a little bit of information here about your life, just to help people think about how you were able to make things better for yourself, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. So what's happening in this picture, Sammy?
I've got my knee flat.
Wow. And how did you feel when you had those keys in your hand?
Really good and happy.
Really good and happy. Were there other feelings going on as well?
Excited.
Excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it took quite a long time.
And having my own keys.
Fantastic, yeah, your own key. And it took quite a long time to get there, didn't it? It didn't happen quickly. It was a long, long time. And why did it take so long? Do you remember?
It took a long time.
Yeah. Who wasn't sure about you moving into your own flat?
My mum.
Your mum, yeah. So your mum loves you so much, didn't she? And she wasn't
did.
sure. And what was her main worry, your mum, then?
She was worried about who's going to look after me
Yeah,
in this flat.
yeah. And what sometimes happens to you that really scares your mum as well?
She gets nervous. She does.
Yeah. She gets nervous because you have seizures, don't you?
Yeah.
Sometimes as shoot there. So, but anyway, here you are, smiling, and you were feeling excited and happy because you had your own keys, your own
Yeah.
front door.
I did.
Okay. Oh no, I've gone the wrong way. See, that's okay. We can do this. So, who's this?
My friend Barry
And you've known Barry a long time. Where did you first meet him?
at Baptist A centre.
Oh, that lovely day centre where you sat every day, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And boring
Being boring, yeah, exactly, being bored. So who's Barry now? Where does he live?
with me.
With you.
Yeah.
So you're buddies, you share your flat, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so you both get support to live there in this amazing flat.
We
Yeah.
do.
Brilliant. So you were really, really, really excited, weren't you? But the
I
story you're going to tell today is actually what happened. Your lovely sister Hazel and I, after about 8 months, we started to notice you weren't quite as smiley and bubbly and sparkly as you usually are. Something was starting to change, and then we talked with you, didn't we? And these are some of the things that started to make you a bit unhappy, didn't they?
You do.
So what's this one about? Do you remember this?
It was about what was stuck on the wall.
Yeah. So the rotor was stuck on the wall by who? Who put it on the wall?
The stars.
Staff. And did what else did they put on the wall?
Like the rotor for the staff who just sticks anything on the wall.
So they were sticking anything up there, health and
Yeah.
safety signs. And what did you think of that when you were sitting on your sofa in your lovely room?
Upset and you wanted them off the wall.
Absolutely. So what did you do?
Just tell them to stick it in their staff room.
Right. So there's a room where they sleep, isn't there? So
Yeah.
they can keep that stuff in there. Okay. What's this one about? Do you remember this? It says money for 2 supporters, only 1 arrived. What was happening?
We had 2, it was me, Barry and my staff in the flat, and I didn't like it at all.
So what happened if there were 1 worker and you and Barry? What happened?
It won't go out.
You couldn't go out.
No.
So you both use wheelchairs, don't you? So to go
Mhm.
out, you need to have some actual support.
Yeah,
Were you paying for 1 staff or 2 staff?
we were paying for 2 staff.
Absolutely. So the picture of your sister, pretend
Yeah.
picture 6 next explains. So you were paying for 2 staff and 1
Yeah.
was turning up, so you weren't going out. You weren't happy, were you? What's this one about?
A stranger what comes in, we don't know them.
So who's the strangers in your flat?
From the
They were staff, weren't they?
staff.
Yeah. So the strangers were staff. Remember that time I came in, I was sitting on your sofa with you, and I said, oh, who's that man? And you said, I don't know.
Yeah.
So a member of staff had come in, hadn't really said hello,
And they don't
introduced themselves.
introduce themselves.
They don't introduce themselves.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about that?
Crap.
Crap. Exactly. What's this one?
The staff answer our phone if I asking us, but now I do it myself.
You weren't happy with them answering
No.
it, but you had to tell them, did you?
Yeah,
So how do you do that now? What have you done to make it easier for you to get to the phone?
I just tell them to give me the phone, then I can answer it myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you've got more and more confident, haven't you? When
Yeah,
you say
I
there's
have.
something I don't like, you go, well, okay, well, what can you do about it? It's your home, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's your house. It's not the house for the staff.
No.
It's yours. And that's with Reach, what we tell people about, isn't it? It's my home and you're supporting me to live my life.
Yeah.
So support me in the way I want. So you did it. Okay, what was this last one about? Oh. So what were you doing Monday to Friday and Saturday and Sunday?
Just sitting there.
Sitting there. Well, you were either sitting there, weren't you?
Yeah.
Or you were doing the same old stuff you did before. So you'd moved into your lovely flat, but actually were going to the same day services, weren't you? Doing the
We
same
were.
stuff, seeing the same people.
Mm.
And how did you feel about that?
Awful. Just sitting there doing nothing.
At the day services, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you were paying for that, weren't you? So you
We were.
started to get really annoyed, and the next picture you like, because
My sister.
that's Hazel. It's not really Hazel, is it? But
Yeah.
she was like, you were both pulling your hair out, going, oh my goodness. We could see that you weren't happy. You had a beautiful flat. You had all
Yeah.
this weird stuff. You weren't being supported to live a
No.
really good life at all. You were in a lovely flat
We were.
with a life without many choices and little control.
Yeah.
So you both said,
We want our money back.
right. So in when we chatted, you, me and Hazel, I said, well, actually, you're paying quite a lot of money for this. Then I got fed up, didn't I, and Hazel
We
and
did.
you, because we realised your
Yeah.
support was tied in to this flat rent.
It was.
And so you were told that if you don't want the support from that company,
Yeah.
you would have to leave the flat.
Mhm.
Now, I was mad because that shouldn't be the case.
No.
Real support for living means that you can stay in your flat and you can change your support.
Yeah.
You were a bit trapped, weren't you? Because
I
you love
was.
the flat, you like where it is, and you really like living with Barry.
Yeah.
So, what we did, wasn't it, the 3 of us, was we said, we know that you have the right to have some of the money yourself. So you took it as a direct payment.
and I got a leaflet,
And what was this leaflet doing? So we said, we've got some money and you wanted to find what?
a support worker.
Yeah.
That can take me out.
Yeah. So
places.
someone who's going to be with you, enjoy being with,
Yeah.
yeah? So we designed this together, didn't we? So
We
it
did.
says, do you believe people and communities matter? Are you passionate, enthusiastic, motivated about supporting people to live their lives the way they want? And it says, I'm a young 40-something, that's debatable, there you go, who loves the cinema, going dancing,
Yeah.
making surround exploring. So we tried explaining what you
We
were
did.
and the type of support you were looking for. We also did this. What was this?
We were
It says guidelines for personal assistance supporting me, Sammy. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was in that? Do you remember?
it was letting me do my own thing.
Let you do your own thing. So you don't
Yeah.
want to be supported in a way that stops you doing things.
Yeah.
If you have a seizure, that you do regularly have
Yeah.
seizures, what do you want staff to do?
Just put me on the floor and just stand next to me in case then I come out of it.
Yeah. And when you come out of it, do you want them to take you to hospital?
No.
No. Only if you hit your head, okay?
Yeah.
And what you found in the past, that some agency staff
Yeah.
would say, I have to take you to hospital, the rules say. You don't want
No, I
that, do
don't
you?
want that.
So you and your sister say, these are the rules that my supporters work by,
Yeah.
okay? And often you just want to cuddle after, don't you? Because you're
We
pissed
do.
off with having
Yeah.
epilepsy. You just want a hug. So that's it. So these were really important to making sure
Yeah.
your personal assistants knew how to support you. How you chose your own personal assistants?
We did.
Where did you interview them?
In Costa.
We've advertised Costa Coffee. Oh no,
We
yeah,
did.
in Costa Coffee, yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you ask me to do? We were in the car driving one day, and you said, "I've got an idea for the interview, Sally. You
You
could."
can just tip me and see what they do.
So you wanted me to nudge you or push you,
Mm.
and if I was to do that, what would happen?
See what they do.
Yeah, but if I did that to you, you'd have a seizure, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
I could trigger a seizure very easily. And what did you want me to do?
Tip me.
Kick you, and
Yeah.
then tell you how the staff reacted.
Yeah.
Did I agree to do that?
No.
No, it's on camera. I didn't do it. Okay, I didn't do it. Okay.
I didn't.
But you wanted to know that people aren't going to panic when you have a seizure. So so you want people just going to keep you living your life. And is that happening now? Some of the time. That was a no, wasn't it? Because life isn't perfect, is it?
No.
It really isn't, is it? In fact, you're quite sad about some of it now, aren't you?
It is.
Because you're still stuck in some of the day services. We can't get the budgets to work, can we, to get you one-to-one
No.
all the time? The time you have with your personal assistants, that's what that's about, isn't it?
It is
So how do you feel when you're out doing things with your personal assistants?
very good.
Yeah. And what sort of things are you doing?
Like cinema, theatre, going to my mum's house
Yeah.
to visit her, then come back.
You're doing
Oh,
everyday
everything.
ordinary things, aren't
Yeah.
you? And then you go to the gym sometimes to do some exercise because we have to do that.
Yeah.
And you sort of go out, you go down shopping in the high street. Do you do your own shopping for food now?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Sammy, what have you
Yeah.
got on your arm?
Oh, good point, Joe. Joe's filming, by the way.
I got a new tattoo.
And how did that happen?
I was about young and I told my mum can I have a tattoo, and she said it's up to you, and you just got it.
But it happened when you got a personal assistant who
Yeah.
really got you and understood you, and you started a plan because you had days to do things. You weren't going
Yeah.
to a centre
No.
or to some project somewhere.
We
You were doing
didn't.
things. So that was a big step, wasn't it? The
It
tattoo.
did.
Good point, Joe. Joe Jart's behind the camera there. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so life is not perfect, but it's better because you've got some control.
Yeah.
This group of people, we only meet every 3 months now, don't we?
Yeah.
So for a couple of years, we met every month,
Mm.
and so these are people in your community circle, yeah. So here's you. Who's this?
My friend Jane,
Yeah. And what are you just planning with Jane?
a holiday to Mallorca.
Mallorca. And what have you booked last week, you and Jane?
Flight.
No, you haven't booked the flight yet. We booked the villa.
Yeah, the villa.
So you booked a villa, 5-bedroom villa with a pool,
Yeah.
and you're going to go and sun yourself. Okay.
Oh,
And this is David who helped set up the circle. And who are these two lovely women?
my sister.
Your sisters. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And Hazel's the one. And it's lovely that Wendy's back in
Yeah.
your life, and then Hazel's the one who's really pushing things. So This is Hazel, who still pulls her hair out because life isn't perfect, is it?
No.
And you need people that know and love you to figure it out. And that should be your support workers as well.
Yeah.
Support workers should be doing that. But it says here, we'll keep going, we'll keep learning because Sammy wants a life. We don't say and won't accept anyone else saying she can't because. And that's what Hazel says, isn't it? That we need to listen and keep learning. And then we'll show the guys the other film for you and Hazel if we've got time, okay?
Yeah.
But thank you very much, Sammy.
Thank you.
you. All right, and thank you, Joe.
Okay, so that's the amazing Sammy. And Sammy is amazing because she's had to fight, but it's sad that Sammy's had to fight so hard for her life. And if she were here now, she would be saying life is better, but it's so not completely ordinary in the sense of a good ordinary life yet. And that's it. When Sammy trains me and Laura, I don't want, you know, our co-facilitators to bare their souls to tell people all their personal stuff. But we know that what's really powerful is when we work together and we know each other well, Sammy can share enough that gives the people, the families, the professionals a real insight into all the things that sometimes people just don't see. And you as quality checks will know the blimmin' staff rotas and health and safety signs on the wall of this beautiful room, the staff answering the phone and answering the door, all this stuff that you see, you know, Sammy knowing that she should, you know, her and Barry have paid for 2 workers and 1 turning up. That stuff is so, so important. And we it's not always seen and it's not acknowledged, and people pretend that life's better than it was, so that's okay. And it's not okay. It's not enough. So Reach is aspirational. We are looking about stretching people's belief and making sure people grow in their belief of the rights of people with learning disabilities to live really good ordinary lives. So I suppose the question to you, it's not easy to chat now, but Mariana, I'm sure, or Kate will send you my email and we can have a phone call or a chat or anything another time. But how can the Association of Quality Checkers ensure people receive quality support for living? And maybe I should say, how can you continue to? And how can you grow in the strength that you have, the power that you have as self-advocates and supporters working together to go in? And I suppose for me, it's partly how can we spread the word? How can we help you spread the word so more and more people know about the Association of Quality Checkers, and they know that you can go in and do these reviews that can make a real difference? Because we're heading to these. They're not going to go away. We're not going to give up. We're not going to pretend life's okay, because it so isn't okay. And one of the things before I finish that we've done for that is that, you know, Learning Disability England are working very hard with self-advocates to make sure your voices are heard. There are family groups, there are groups for leaders, and the group that we felt were most invisible and forgotten, not most invisible, one of the invisible groups, because self-advocates are often very forgotten, is support workers, the direct support workers that spend their days with people looking for support, people having the right and aspiring, wanting a really good ordinary life. We got sick of people saying support workers were rubbish and, you know, the rest of it, because we meet some fantastic. So we launched something called the Great Support Movement. And again, we'll send you a link. And we're working here with support workers from all over across the United Kingdom. And what self-advocates told us was really important. What do you want in your support workers? And they said, we want support workers who are adventurous, who are friendly, who are encouraging, who are supportive of my loving, who are connecting, who are good at advocating, who are respectful and resourceful. So we're working hard with support workers because we believe that more support workers know what great support looks like, more support workers understand real support for living a good ordinary life. Then that's how we can work with people with learning difficulties and families and professionals to make sure we're all connected to make real change happen. And I can be quiet now. It's 12:50, and I'd love it if anyone's got any questions. I think you need to type them, but Mariana or Kate will guide us through that maybe.
Hello, yes, it's Kate here. If you've got any questions for Sally, please put them in the sticky message section on the right-hand side. But Sally, in the meantime, I was wondering what it was that you thought helped Sammy to make things better for herself, really.
It's interesting. I think what really helped Sammy was her amazing sister, who had spotted in the family Sammy was becoming invisible, and Hazel decided, the family loved Sammy to bits, but they were terrified of the future. Hazel was really strong in saying we need to help figure out a good life for Sammy, what that looks like. And Hazel, with Sammy, has been able to say, well, Sammy, what do you think of that? And I think together, if Sammy was here, she would say, to begin with, she just accepted everything, because she didn't know that she could say it's not okay. And as soon as Hazel was saying, well, Sammy, are you sure about those posters? What do you mean a stranger came in, Sammy? What do you mean someone didn't introduce themselves? You said when you moved in here, you wanted only staff you've chosen. So why is that happening? So Hazel was amazing at being able to give Sammy that support to realise she had a right to have a voice, and she had a right to say no and to question what was going on. But I have to say, there are still times when Sammy struggles to say that, because at the moment she doesn't have a consistent staff team. So it's hard, if you don't know your staff well, to develop a relationship. One personal assistant is brilliant. But an example recently where Sammy didn't have a female support worker come in for 6 days, which meant Sammy didn't have a shower for 6 days. Now, Sammy didn't say anything because she wasn't sure if she should. So she's still learning, and that's not a bloody okay. It's not okay. So then her sister was able to put it right. But I believe that what we'll see over the next few years is Sammy going, no, that's not okay. I know that I deserve better, and I know that I should have better. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that Reach stirs up interest and stirs up people's ability to question and say, no, I've got a right here. And people and families and support workers and everyone saying this is not okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sally. If anybody finds it easier, I think you might be able to put on your microphone at the top of the screen. But if that's not possible and you do think of any more questions after the webinar, then please let us know. Actually, I can just see a question. It's just come up. It's from Amanda. And Amanda says, commissioners who pay for us to do checks may have different standards to Reach. What can we do about this? For example, they may expect to see posters about health and safety. So that's for us.
God, good question, Amanda. Drives me mad. It's interesting. So, yes, I think local authorities, I have to say some don't, but actually some of the better ones do have standards. They have something that they want you to evidence to show that you're working towards. I get that. I think the Reach standards can be used to evidence everything. I also think, like you're saying, that some local commissioners might go, no, we want the posters up, or we want the staff rota up because we like it. I think all I can say there is honest conversations with them, and it's the confidence from people, families, and supporters, and to say, and staff to say, well, actually, do you know what? That isn't a law. It isn't actually something. So the Care Quality Commission don't say you must have rotas and health and safety on the wall of someone's living room. They might say you need to have stuff somewhere in the building. And when we met the 80 CQC inspectors, it was amazing because you could see their light bulbs come on. And I think they had misunderstood what was being said. So I agree. I think we get some local commissioners who are misguided. And I think we need to be brave in having those conversations. We're also, as Paradigm, we could do this with LDE and Association of Quality Checkers. We're very happy to take calls, emails from people and say, well, how can we support you to have that? So I can email sort of quite high people at CQC that can then email say, no, that's not what we say. There's one story that we were with the 80 inspectors for CQC, and Sammy and I looked at them and said, do you know, you've told everybody we're not allowed to hug people we support? And they were flinching because actually they haven't said that. So that's just one example of where people think there are rules and laws that say what we should do. And they're often not. They're locally created because someone in the past has thought that's the right thing to do. And I think we just need to be brave in this conversation. So if we can help in any way with that, as a group of organisations and agencies, we'd very happily do that. But really good question because it's a real issue.
Great. Thanks, Sally. If anyone else has got any more questions, then either put it in the message box or unmute your mic, or send it to me at info@qualitycheckers, and I'll make sure I get in touch with Sally and that your question's passed on, if that's okay, Sally.
That's fine. And unmute the mic. So I don't know if you can see at the top of your screen above the slides, you should see a picture of a microphone. If you click that, it will go blue, and that's when you can talk to me. So, but I know it's hard to talk when you can't see people and you're on a computer. But
okay, well, if anyone wants to click on that button, they can. Otherwise, I just wanted to say, Sally, thank you so much for talking to us today, for the presentation, to you and to Sammy as well, and for sharing your experience and your great knowledge with us. And I'd also like to thank everybody for participating in the webinar. We're hoping that we're going to have more webinars over the course of the next year. So please let us know if you've got any ideas for webinars. That would be great. And we really hope that everybody's enjoyed it and found it useful. And I hope that, everyone will participate in the next one. So thank you very much, Sally.
Thank you. Thanks, Kate and Mariana. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye. Bye.